Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. If you read the title for this, you want to know what time it is. It's time for some unpopular opinions and I'm going to talk about books that are really popular that I didn't really like. So I've never done this kind of video before. I tend to just like talk about the things I like the most and then wrap-ups I do mention of course if I didn't like them. But I thought, why not for this video? Let's just do it. And then if it's really fun maybe I would do more because there's definitely more books I could talk about. But I just picked out the ones I could remember right now, and then I will probably be annoyed at myself for forgetting some afterwards. So let's just get started. The first book we have is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is a paranormal fantasy thingy, and it basically follows Diana Bishop, who is a witch, but she never really has used her powers. And then she meets a vampire and they fall for each other, but it's illegal because vampires and witches are not allowed to be together. I tend to just call it sophisticated Twilight because Diana is like, you know, I was gonna say old, but she's not old, but she's not a teenager. So it's, you know, an adult book written really sophisticatedly with like fancy words that I cannot say. Classy in a way. It's not like it's trash, but it's written as if it's not. I don't know how to describe it. Trash though, like I say that as a compliment because I do love myself those trashy books, but you know what I mean. So the reason I really didn't like it is because first of all, the writing just wasn't for me. I just felt like it was very boring and made the book very dry. And then also, I don't like Matthew and Diana. I really hate them together. Because for me, it's a very toxic relationship. Just the way they are together and when they're not together is horrendous. And just how possessive he is of her is really disgusting to me. And I know like this is like, I would say a common trope in paranormal fantasy romance things. At least the ones I read. Because the other dude always has like I was gonna say an animal side, and that animal side makes them very possessive. And I do get like it's fictional and all that, like yeah, but still for me it's just a turn off for the whole relationship. Like I'm supposed to ship them, but for me I just want to make the whole ship burn in hell. Really bored throughout this whole thing. People are just basically after them also because Diana finds this book and everyone wants this book, and I'm just like, I don't care. I really don't care. But actually, TV show actually removes a lot of the toxic parts of their relationship. It's not as prominent. It's not as intense. And the atmosphere, like the dark academia atmosphere in the TV show, they basically just choose for me the best parts of the book in TV shows. I really enjoyed that. But this I did not like. I also have read 2 and 3. And it was not better. The second book was also extremely boring. The only point of that book was one part, which I'm not going to spoil, but it was just one part of the story for like I don't even know, 600-page book or something, 500-page book. It was not worth it. And yeah, I ended up just disliking this so much. So yeah, I know it's very popular, but I do not like it. Actually, I haven't watched the rest of the TV show, but I do really want to. I'm gonna watch like the rest soon, and I think I will enjoy that more, surprisingly. But this, I just, yeah, and why did I spend so much money on these hardbacks? I don't know, but I have regrets. And then we have Carverwell by Stephanie Garber. So this one I was actually very hyped for before I found out about it. I just saw the vibe of this book was just like a mysterious carnival they get invited to. There's like mysteries and clues and you need to like solve it and figure it out. But then I read it and I really like did not like the vibe. I did not like the characters. So follow these 2 sisters. They go to this, I was gonna say yearly carnival. I don't even know if it's yearly. And I think one of them perhaps is kidnapped and the other one needs to find a sister. I actually don't even know. Literally stopped caring, so I literally cannot remember. But for me, in my head, when they went there, I was just like imagining it being like, okay, it's gonna be super weird and confusing, but it's gonna tie up in a knot together in the end. It's gonna make sense, you know? It's gonna make you feel like everything was worth it. But for me, it just seemed like the author just wrote some random shit that was gonna make sense. Like, as an example, oh my god, she jumped into the river because she was gonna find something there. But that just didn't have like any meaning. No one jumped into the river, it's just an example. So the things that happened to the main character, even the clues, wasn't actually clues. It was just random shit that like didn't like actually mean anything, and it was very annoying. And just overall, I do recall characters being annoying and didn't really care for them. And like the whole vibe the story gave off, it just didn't give like that magical mystery vibe for me. It was just this, I don't know what to say. Like it tried to be smart, but it was not. So that's why I ended up not enjoying it as much. I do have the sequel and probably will finish the series because that's how I roll. But not the greatest time. I thought I remembered the book, but trying to talk about it was more difficult than I thought. So I think I forgot more than I thought. What did the characters do? And like, what happened in the end, and the love was some kind of romance, but I thought that was really weird. Or was it? But it's all good. Let's move to the next one. So then we have Illuminati by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and this one has been very hyped for many years in the book community in general. And this is a sci-fi, and they're basically set on a ship that, I was gonna say, has it been invaded or attacked? But basically, they're on a ship, stuff happened on it, so they're like lost and alone in space in a way. I'm horrible at describing books right now, I am fully aware. But basically, we follow two characters that are on these ships, and the whole book is told in like transcripts and like texts, and it's not like, I was gonna say, written out novel like you usually read. But like, that's why it's so famous. But overall, I read it, and I like literally own the whole series, and I was been hyped for it for years because it looks stunning, and like I like the idea of it. But reading it, I was actually quite bored. First of all, it was kind of annoying at times even to read like the transcripts and stuff, even though it's literally like a 600-page book you can read in like an hour. That part is great, but I just feel like if you think about the plot and like the story, it's not like anything special, anything interesting about it. I was actually very bored overall when we got the reveals. I was just like, oh, okay. And then the characters, like, you didn't get to connect with them, I think, as much because of the format. And for me, the format ruined the story for me, because I literally had to like turn the book sometimes to read it, and for me that became disturbing after a while, as well as just not the story being engaging enough. And then after a while I was just bored. I wanted to just be done. And I know the next books like don't directly follow what happens here, but I do also own them, so I will maybe read them eventually. But overall I was very let down. I was convinced this was going to be a 5-star read, but I think I gave it like 3 or less, and I don't like generally like it. I would recommend other books instead. Why I think people love this is because of the format, but for me the story is just, it's not enough for the format, even though yes, I do admit it does look cool. And then we have The Blade Itself by Joy Abercrombie, which I'm kind of sad is here, because I did actually believe this was going to be a 5-star read for years. Because if you Google like fantasy books to read, this shows up with like all the, you know, big shot name, Brandon Sanderson, and that was the only person I remembered, like Jorah Martin, you know, like all like the big fantasies. This is like included in them, and all those I have like loved, so I assumed I would love this. And I bought like the whole trilogy years ago, and I finally read it last year, and I just don't like it. I don't like it at all, and I'm so sad about it. So this is just so character driven for me. I assumed I was going to go into like a high fantasy world with like really cool world building and just like conflicts and your plot. There was nothing there. It feels like, I've seen people say this as well, but it feels like a prequel to before the actually story begins, where like we get to, you know, actual plots and magic and world. This is just basically establishing, was it 3 main characters? I don't even remember. And they weren't even interesting. I was bored. I just didn't care. And I just feel like this, if at least it should have been the prequel, it should have been like 200 pages long. We get to know the characters, setting them up, and then we can start the main trilogy. But this was just not it for me. And I just don't prefer this kind of fantasy to be character driven. While I can read a fantasy that is character driven and enjoy it, this was just not at all what I thought it would be. And I do want to continue the story, because I do believe there is some amazingness in there, because people really love this series. If it's like this all the way through, I want to like be very upset about it, because as I said, I really thought I would love it. Now I don't like it at all, so there's that. And then we have Normal People by Sally Rooney, which I also believed I was gonna love to death. And this one is, you know, the first book by the author, and I do have the next one, Conversation with Friends, hoping I might enjoy this, but I'm not sure. But basically this follows 2, I was gonna say kids, but not kids all the way through, but like they've known each other when they were kids. They started to have sex, and then they like go apart and start to have sex and go apart a billion times. And the book doesn't have like any, I was gonna say, like quotation mark when they speak dialogue, and I know some people are very annoyed by this. I was annoyed by it in the beginning, but I got used to it. And then when I got used to the writing style, which is a bit different but like can be enjoyable, there was nothing there. Like, I thought it was going to be like a really emotional book about these 2 like people being in love but never be able to, you know, say it or whatever. But the whole book is literally miscommunication. The whole story is that. And I was so annoyed at these shithead characters not being able to get their shit together. Just talk to each other, for God's sake. And I know it's not you know, easy. It's easy to say that. When you're in it, it's hard to get out all these things. But it was just like they were so repetitive. It happened over and over and over many years. And in the end, if we didn't have like this relationship, them going back and together and not being together, blah blah blah, the book had nothing for me. Like I thought it was gonna be like, even if they were not together or not be together, whatever, I thought it was gonna be like, you know, about life, how beautiful it is in a way, and just like it had that vibe where like it's that kind of contemporary book where I was gonna say appreciate life in a way, making you like think about stuff. Just didn't care about the characters. I thought they were really stupid. The whole vibe from this book, I don't want it anymore. And if her other books has the other vibes, I don't think I will like them either. So that's very disappointing. I literally thought I would love it and give it 5 stars, because everyone was hyping it up so bad. I was like, oh my god, I'm crying, it's the most beautiful book. And I just almost wish I hadn't read it, to be honest. Then I have The Bond Season by Samantha Shannon, which I am also sad about that I didn't like. Priory of the Orange Tree is one of my favorite books of all time. And then we are with this one, which I don't like at all. So this one follows, I was gonna say, Paige. She's a clairvoyant. Being clairvoyant is illegal in London, which is futuristic. And then she gets like arrested and taken somewhere. It's interesting, that part, and then nothing else is interesting ever again. I just hated the setup to this book. I just don't like the whole thing. I don't know how to describe it even. I even read 2 and 3 and I don't like them either. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just don't like Paige. That's the thing. She's like a boring piece of cloth that I never wanted in my life. I feel like in the whole book she's so passive. She doesn't do anything. Everything just happens to her. And she's like special because she has special abilities, blah blah blah. And I just don't care. I just like a bit like Diana actually in Discover Riches, but whereas that was not the main part that annoyed me in that. But here was just like the romance, I just don't care at this point. I like thinking about the later books, just how it all has been developed. I just don't care. I think that it reveals that the book, like what it actually is about, I didn't expect it. But then when we got there, it was nothing. Nothing happened. We were just at a standstill. The book was so long, it just never ended. I was trying to say something clever as of why I didn't like it, like, oh, it didn't have meaning, blah blah blah, or something like that. It's just, I didn't like it. I didn't like where the story went. I didn't like where we were sat and what happened there. Like, it was nothing interesting or fun about it. I just don't get anything in here for me. I don't know how to describe it. This is a horrendous video, but it's the truth. And I'm sad about it because I assumed I would love it for years, and then I just didn't like it, and I don't think I ever will. But maybe one day in 10 years when my reading tastes has changed, I will read the whole series and love it. Who knows? And then for the last one in this video, we have Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the author of Stalking Dashboard Repair, which I never read, but I know people love. And then this one is just like about 2 sisters. They're witches. And then one of the sisters dies. She needs to figure out how she died. And then she gets involved with the Princess of Hell. And it's supposed to, you know, be like sexy and just like, oh my god, Princess of Hell, you know? You expect it to be cool. And then it's just not. I feel like if this was not YA, it could have been able to go into the steps to make it dark and gritty and like how it should have been if you were Princess of Hell. But it's just not. I was like invested in the beginning where I was like, oh my god, this is kind of interesting. You know, witches. We set in Italy somewhere, like on an island, or maybe like, I don't even know actually. I should have like Lucifer vibes in a way, you know? There's TV show. And it just doesn't. After a while, I was just so tired of the mystery. We were going around talking to people. Nothing really happened. And then just the whole story fell apart for me. So I ended up not enjoying it at all. I didn't think I was gonna love it, but I thought it would be like a fun YA fantasy where I at least had fun with it. But nothing was fun. And as I said, the story just fell apart for me. And then in the sequel, which I read and posted a review of, it was not better. It was trying to be sexy. It was like 4% sexy and the rest was boring. Thinking like about the plot, at least in the second book, it just... what plot? And here as well, I'm just like... the story fell apart. Right now, my brain has like deleted this book. So most of the things that happened, I have forgotten. But I just did not have a good time at all with it. and I know a lot of people ended up loving this, but I did not, and I'm sad about it, because I feel like this is something that I could have had fun with, but since the story was the way it was, I just couldn't. And that is 7 popular books I didn't like. I know that I'm kind of a mess trying to explain why, but it's fine. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a angry emoji face down below, because I'm angry over not liking these books. And you will see me soon in a new one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!